Victoria from Biblio Lifestyle, and you're listening to the Reader's Couch podcast, the show that will help you bridge the gap between living a full and busy life to one where you're reading, learning new things, and having fun. Today on the couch, I'm so excited to welcome author B.K. Borison to talk about the books in her Lovelight series. So there will be a total of 4 books in the Lovelight series, and Bex had initially self-published 3 of the 4 books. Now, if you've heard of this series before, maybe you were like me and you read them all on Kindle Unlimited. But now, the series has been acquired by a traditional publisher, Berkeley Books, and they will be republishing and re-releasing 3 of the books this summer. So in this episode, Bex and I talk about the first 3 books in the series. Book 1 is entitled Lovelight Farms, Book 2 is In the Weeds, and Book 3 is Mixed Signals. And Bex also gives us a little preview of what to expect in Book 4, Business Casual, along with her future projects. Bex also talks about her self-publishing journey and the transition to traditional publishing, plus she shares some great book recommendations and reading tips as well. So, let's get into the episode because I can't wait for you to listen to my chat with author B.K. Borison. Hi there, could you do me a favour really quick? Would you pretty please subscribe to the show, leave me a 5-star rating if you like it, and share an episode or 2 with your bookish friends? Better yet, if you could drop a link to the show or to your favourite episode in your book club or bookish group chat, that works too. I promise it only takes a few seconds, it really helps the show, plus I'll be incredibly grateful for it. So thanks in advance, and now on to the episode. Hi readers, welcome again to the Reader's Couch. I'm your host, Victoria Wood, and here on the couch with me to talk about the books in her Lovelight series is author B.K. Borison. Bex, welcome to the Reader's Couch.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Yay! I'm so excited to have you here. Can't wait to talk about the books in the Lovelight series. But before we get there, you've had quite the publishing journey and experience. And, it's something we're seeing happening more often. But all 3 of the books in your Lovelight series will be published this summer. How are you feeling? How excited are you?
I'm super excited. It's been a wild ride from self-publishing these books a year ago and being picked up by Berkeley, and then now seeing the books start to come out in, the real world. Not that indie's not the real world, but seeing them on bookshelves, seeing them reach new audience. It's been a dream come true, and a dream I didn't even know I could dream. That's how big it feels to me.
Absolutely. I can't even imagine. Now it's available on a larger scale, with a wider reach. But yes, you are already successful on the self-publishing side. But we're going to get into publishing, but I want you to introduce the books to readers first. So let's start with the first book in the series, Lovelight Farms. Tell us about that book and what can readers expect?
Sure. So each of the books in the Lovelight series is based on a different season. Lovelight Farms is the first in the series. It's my winter book. It is about a woman who owns a Christmas tree farm in a small town. The tree farm is having a little bit of trouble, so she enters a social media contest to help it out. Except on the application for the contest, she lies and says that she has a boyfriend to make the place seem more romantic. And so with no boyfriend in sight, her best friend Luca volunteers to fill that role, and they engage in a little bit of fake dating shenanigans for the benefit of this contest.
Right, absolutely. And then the next book in the series, tell us about the season, In the Weeds, and tell us what we can expect.
Sure. In the Weeds is the second. It's spring at the farm, and it's a romance between the head farmer Beckett and the social media influencer from the first book, Evelyn. It's a little bit slower. It's a second chance romance. Beckett and Evelyn have met before, had a little rendezvous where they didn't exchange much information with each other. And so they come back together at Lovelight Farms by circumstance, and they sort of get a second chance at what could have been when they first met.
And the third book in the series is Mixed Signals. Tell us about that one.
Mixed Signals is the third book in the series. It's the summer book. It's between Layla, she runs the bake shop on the farm, and Caleb. He's a teacher in the town. Layla's a little bit unlucky in love. Hasn't had much luck on the dating scene. And so Caleb volunteers his services to sort of show her what it should be like. It's a little bit of fake dating. It's a little bit of lessons in dating. I think all three of the books are light and fluffy and happy. Definitely an escape if you're looking for something sweet and good and kind and happy.
Absolutely. A friend actually recommended Lovelight Farms to me. I got it back when it was on Kindle, downloaded it, binged it, and I just went from book 1 to 2 to 3. That was late last year. It was quite the ride. I couldn't stop reading. So I consider myself late to the party. She's like, wait, what? You didn't read Lovelight Farms? I'm like, no. So tell me about the origin story for the first book in the series, Lovelight Farms. Where did the inspiration come from? Again, it was such a delightful read, such an escape, and I wanted more. Unfortunately for me, I was able to read the other two as well. So tell us about the inspiration for book 1 and how it led to book 2 and to book 3.
Sure. So I knew from the jump that I wanted it to be a 4-book series. I knew I wanted each one to be a different season. This Lovelight Farms was the first original work that I've written. I've dabbled in, fan fiction and side writing and that sort of thing. But I sat down, I was like, I'm going to try and write a book, see what happens. We'll go from there. But for Lovelight, I knew I wanted to start with winter. I knew I wanted to start with the holidays. I listened to a lot of Christmas Tree Farm by Taylor Swift. And I just wanted to create this place that felt good. It felt good for readers, good for me to disappear into. I wrote it during the pandemic when things still felt very lonely and hard. And so I just created a place that felt like an escape, and a happy one at that. And so started there, and then Lovelight really took off after I published it, and then we've been going down ever since. And so the first 3 are out, or will be out shortly with the Berkeley republications, and then the 4th and final season, fall, will be coming out sometime next year.
Yay! And I'm going to try and pick your brain on that next book soon. But I want to kind of get into the early parts of your writing journey. I mean, was this a self-conscious decision from the beginning, from the jump, to say, well, I'm going to try my hand at writing something, like you said, after dabbling in fan fiction and other things? Mm-hmm. Did you intend to just say, I'm not even going to try traditional publishing, I'm going the self-publishing route? What was your initial thought process in those early days?
Yeah, that was exactly it. I was really there was so much I didn't know. I was really intimidated by the traditional process. When you query for an agent and you query for a publishing house, it's super daunting in terms of just all the resources available to you. And I just wanted to write a book and see if people even liked that book. So I didn't want to have a manuscript and send it out to agents and then not hear anything back and not know what wasn't working about it. So I figured from the very start that I would self-publish, see what reader response was like, give myself the 4 books in self-publishing to sort of see and feel it out. And if I enjoyed it, then potentially look into traditional. But I was very happy with self-publish. And that was the plan from the very get-go.
Right. Okay. What would you say was the most difficult part of this creative process? And also with self-publishing, because when you're self-publishing, you're doing everything on your own. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that traditionally published authors don't have work. Of course they do. Regardless of the method that you choose, there's a lot of work to be done, both on the side of the author as well as the other publishing professionals that are a part of their team. But with self-publishing, there is no team unless you assembled one. So what was your experience and journey like?
It was a lot of learning. There was so much I didn't know. I didn't have any social media presence. I didn't have any editing team in place. I remember when I launched Lovelight, someone was like, do you have an ARC for this? And I didn't even know what ARC, Advanced Reader Copy, stood for. So it was very much like I just wanted to write a book. And then it was rapid fire learning from that point on. It's been so much fun to own all the aspects of the process, because you're totally right. When you're an indie writer, when you self-publish, you write the book, you design the cover, you format the book, you edit it, you send it to readers, you market it, you advertise. And there's a lot of joy for me as a person who likes control, to do all of that myself. Especially, I had such a clear vision in terms of what I wanted to do with it, in terms of marketing and promotion and all that sort of stuff. So it was fun for me to hold on to all of those pieces. But now transitioning into traditional publishing, it is so wonderful to have a team of people to make sure that this book is the best book that it could possibly be. I'm not waking up from like a midnight dream, panicking that I spelled a word wrong on page 67 because there's someone there to catch it. Indie sometimes can feel a little like you do have to wear every single hat. You have to be perfect. And so I'm very grateful to grow into this traditional role at this point.
Absolutely. So kind of getting into traditionally published now, because the books were out on KU, at least that's how I consumed it. I consumed it last, like I said, December 2022, just for context, because folks will be listening to this podcast years later. So I was introduced to Lovelight Farms December 2022. I devoured that book. I had book 2 and I had book 3 right there, ready to go. So I had a wonderful binging experience. So for readers out there who discovered you on KU, binged your work, what would you say is the major difference between the books? For folks who read on KU and now you're being published traditionally through Berkeley, again, your fans, I know for a fact, will get the Berkeley books regardless, because that's just how we are as readers. We're like, okay, yay, we were there first, but we're also getting these copies too. But from a reading experience point of view, is there anything new or different with these books?
I think the books themselves are higher quality print than they were with Amazon. I think it's very, very minimal edits in terms of the content.
Mm-hmm.
I keep joking that Berkeley has taught me proper punctuation. So cleaned up like punctuation and grammar, a couple word choices here and there, repetition. But for the most part, we just did a really high level cleanup of the manuscript and no developmental changes whatsoever. And with mixed signals and in the weeds, there's bonus content that will be in both of those paperbacks.
Nice. So we're staying true to the original with minor updates on the other two. I actually like that. So that's really cool to know. Okay, so let's get into the 4th book, because again, it's seasonal. You had a plan from the jump. You're going to write a 4th book. I know that book's coming out next year. I did some digging around. I saw the title. Is it still business casual? And if that's the case, tell us about it. What are you thinking? Any early tidbits? Whatever you can share, I will take it.
It is business casual. It's the 4th book in the series, the fall book, the final book. I handed off the final manuscript earlier this spring, so it's in Berkeley hands. I was dragging my feet, I feel like, through the last third of writing that book because I just didn't want to leave these characters yet. But it's the story is between Charlie and Nova. Charlie is Stella's older brother by like a couple months, and Nova is Beckett's youngest sister. So there's lots of connection with the other couples in the series. It feels very much like an ensemble story because everybody is so involved and invested. Opposites attract. Silly, fun. I had such a blast writing this book. I feel like this one is the first book I've written since Lovelight that I felt a bunch of joy writing, not because I didn't like writing the other ones, but because it was just so fun. The characters are really fun. The story is a lot of fun. And I'm really excited to, go through the traditional process with it and see what comes of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's exciting too, because this book will be the book that we've never read. We didn't have on KU. So this is a full traditional publishing experience from start to finish. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the first Berkeley original that I will be working on.
Yeah, amazing. So this is me being greedy because I'm sure you figured from the book community, especially when we latch on to something that we love. So I'm curious. I know we have business casual to look forward to next year. For folks who are new to the Lovelight Farm series, you have the 3 books coming out this summer, so you have 3 books to binge. But I'm curious, Bex, are you working on any other projects?
I am. When I did my deal with Berkeley, it was for 5 books, the 4 Lovelight, and the first in a super secret mystery series that I'm keeping a tight lid on. It's I'm trying to think what I can share, but I've started writing it. I'm super excited about it. I
Hmm.
haven't shared a single morsel of
Okay.
information with anyone except for the Berkeley team.
Hmm.
Um, it's not a small town romance, so it's different from Love Light in that way. It takes place in Baltimore, which is the town, or this, I call it a town, the city that I live in currently. I was raised here. Um, I think there's a lot of things if you liked in Love Light, the community, the found family, the silliness. I think there's a lot of things that translate over into this book, and I'm super excited about it.
Okay, I know you're tight-lipped on it, but I have one, maybe 2 questions. Okay, is it a romance or is it a mystery?
Oh,
Or
it's
both?
it's a romance, 100%.
100% a romance. Okay, you said Baltimore. But yeah, okay, you kind of told us. We're gonna get the small town feel still. We're gonna get the found family and friends. Give me one other element that you can maybe share.
Hmm. There's a single parent,
Okay. Okay.
and that's the first time I've shared that with anyone. And let's see. It is a nod to, or it's not, I don't know if it's a nod or a twist on one of my very favorite films of all time.
Okay. Okay. So film influence, single parent. I'm good with that. I'm not going to get you into trouble. This is so exciting. And it's going to be the first book in a series, so we can potentially have future books to look forward to.
Yes, absolutely. I hope so. Yes.
Okay, yes, that's a goal, and we're speaking it into the universe. It's going to happen.
I hope so.
So positive energies. Okay, amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. But looking back, Bex, at this journey, if you could tell your younger writing self anything, what would you tell her?
Oh gosh. I think I wasted so much time being afraid to start, thinking that it would never be a possibility. Like I always wanted to be a writer, but it's like it's one of those dreams, like I want to be an athlete or an astronaut. It feels so astronomically out of reach sometimes, but I think I wish I just started sooner. Like I wish I trusted the stories in my head sooner and just did it, because I think I let fear hold me back for a long time. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something a lot of us can relate to, whether we're creative or not. It really doesn't matter. I think sometimes our dreams are so big, it scares us, and we're like, no, this is never going to happen to me, or this makes no sense, and no one's going to read it, no one's going to support it. I know I have those feelings sometimes
Yeah.
too. So, yeah, definitely relatable for sure. I want to get into your reading life though, Bex, because even though we're here to talk about the Love Light series, I want to know what you're reading, and I know my listeners do too. So share with us the last book or books that you finished reading that you'd now recommend.
Well, I'm in my fantasy era right now. I just finished Fourth Wing. I feel like with the rest of the Bookstagram universe, I really enjoyed that. Um, and I'm also I just finished Once Upon a Broken Heart. But it's Stephanie Garber. I don't want to mess up her name, so I'm scanning here to look at the book on my shelf. Once Upon a Broken Heart and The Ballad of Never After. Thoroughly enjoying those stories as well. I find sometimes when I'm working on a draft, sometimes it helps if I pick a different subgenre, so
Hmm.
my brain can have like the clear line between contemporary romance and something else. So I'm in my fantasy girly era right now.
Yay, I love that. What other genres do you naturally gravitate to? So let's say when you're not writing, because I do like the fact that, you read something completely different, but what were your go-to genres, would you say?
Oh gosh, contemporary romance and romantic comedy. I
Hmm.
gobble up contemporary romance. I'm trying to think of the last contemporary I read. I read Happy Place by Emily Henry.
Hmm.
Um, Phenomenal, of course. And then I read, let me think, Chloe Lisa's If Only You. She is on a similar journey to myself, where she
Yes.
started out as indie, and now she's traditional with Berkeley as well. Her Bergman Brothers series was just picked up for traditional publication, and I'm such a fan of that series. Read it on Kindle Unlimited, and super thrilled to see that transition into the traditional space as well.
I mean, isn't it just great that authors are putting their work out there? It's being well received by readers, and then it's being picked up. I mean, it's if nothing else, it's proof of concept. I love it.
It's such a fascinating case study for the industry as a whole, in that readers really have such incredible power to pick the stories that are flooding the market and changing the lives of people like me, who now get to do this full time because people simply liked my book.
Yeah, and they were telling other readers about it. I'm telling you, I felt like your book, as well as Chloe Elise, that's also a good another one to mention. It's because I have friends who live on KU, like
Mhm.
live, and they will read every and anything, and especially the romance community. They're such voracious readers. I'm hard pressed to find another genre where the authors are so supportive, but the readers are incredibly supportive too. And they are recommending books like Wildfire and putting books in the hands of other readers. So I'm really pleased to see this new trajectory as well, for sure. I think it's great.
It's incredible, and there's so many. It's interesting to see the overall trajectory, because there's so many KU authors that are now traditional, or a hybrid of KU and traditional. And
Hmm.
if you look at the bestseller list, New York Times and Sunday Times, they're just flooded with romance and formerly indie writers. It's incredible.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I was just thinking, I think another genre that has just that energy behind it is fantasy.
Oh yes.
Fantasy has that because I was just thinking, I'm like, I know romance. I think because I have so many friends that are voracious romance readers, I
Mhm.
was also thinking, I'm like, no, fantasy has that as well. I think, I don't know if you know her, Olivia Blake also had a similar trajectory.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I'm loving to see it. Okay, what was your favorite childhood book though? What was the book that Bex couldn't stop reading or it just left an impression on her?
I was thinking about this before we met up to chat, and there was a series, and I've tried looking it up, but there was a series when I was a kid, and I remember going to the library and checking out each book. It was a long series. It had like 30 books in it. It was called the Redwall series,
Hmm.
and it was about a mouse. and it was a fantasy series about this mouse and this whole town of like woodland creatures. And it was like, from what I recall of it, and now as an adult, it was like Game of Thrones, but with mice. Which is such a, and like I was thinking about it, and like I distinctly remember being a kid, like gobbling up those books, and just like I'd haul them on vacation from the library with us, like these giant beastly books. And I was like, it was mice, Game of Thrones. And I wonder now, like, how legitimate are those memories? I'd love to revisit that series again. Um, so I'm going to be looking it up to be like, is this a real book, or is this just weird dreams as a child?
I just love how when we're children, our imaginations just run so wild. Sometimes you can't tell the difference between was this real, was this reality, was this a book, or was this just one of the many things I was dreaming up in my head?
Yep. And I was, as a kid, I loved fantasy. I gobbled up Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Chronicles of Narnia. I loved disappearing to other worlds as a kid.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Same here, same here. So, what books are you looking forward to reading now in the year ahead? Like, what books are on your TBR?
Oh gosh, there's so many good ones coming out. I feel like we just, especially in romance, there's such a wealth of goodies. I'm really looking forward to Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. Um, I think probably the best part about being a traditional author now is I can beg my editor at Berkeley for early copies, though I haven't worked up the courage to beg for that one. Um, Do Your Worst by Rosie Danon. She is the author of The Roommate and The Intimacy Project. I believe those are the.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So this is her first book that she's come out with in a couple of years, and it's a little bit uh, paranormal-ish. It's got a little bit of magical realism, so I'm super looking forward to her take on that. What else here? Oh, Rachel Lynn Solomon has Business or Pleasure coming out,
Mm-hmm.
I believe next week.
Yeah.
I'm dying to get my hands on that one. So lots of good stuff.
Yes, there are lots of amazing books to look forward to indeed. But Bex, there might be someone here listening on the podcast who is going through a reading slump right now, just nothing is working for them, or there might be a listener who wants to start incorporating reading in their lives again. What advice would you give to a listener who is A, going through a reading slump, or B, someone who is struggling to find time or struggling to incorporate reading back into their lives?
I think for a while I struggled with that as an adult to sort of be passionate about reading again. I think it's sort of a habit you can fall out of really easily. And for me, subscribing to Kindle Unlimited really helped because it felt like such a low low risk way of just exploring a bunch of different books and authors and genres and tropes and all sorts of things. It's like having a library in the palm of your hand. So I love Kindle Unlimited for that. I love discovering authors that way. I think there's so much talent hidden there. And it's a great way to gobble up books. And I think sometimes with reading as an adult, we feel like we have to take it too seriously and we put too much pressure on ourselves to read. I'm doing air quotes, serious adult books, but
Mhm.
reading should be fun and it should be something that makes you feel good and should be a world you get to disappear into and give your brain a break. So read the books you want to read and don't worry about what anyone else thinks about it.
Absolutely. I do think, there was this stigma for a long time. I mean, it's still there, but I think we're doing better where if you're not reading War and Peace, you're not reading anything real. You know,
Right.
it goes back to those serious books, not just classics, because, you have contemporary books, but they're more serious, thought provoking, just again, no discounting them because they're well written and I read some of them too and I love them. But I think you're absolutely right. Don't focus on these are the best books. These are the books you must read. Read those books that speak to you, that interest you, that catch your attention. There is no shame. Reading is reading once you're enjoying it, especially as adults, because we're doing it for fun and we need some escape because real life can be hard sometimes.
Absolutely. And I know romance, some people turn their nose up at romance, but there's so much more than love stories in love stories. There's about friendship and family and grief and loss and hope and joy. There's so much more to be found. And if you're dismissing books because of a genre or because of your preconceived notions, I think you're just missing out on a lot of good stuff.
You really are. And as a former romance snob, I am here to attest. She is right. Because I was that person who was like, who reads romance? Like, wait, what? But there is so much more. And I'm telling you, I've started and it's been how many years now? It's been over 10 years and I haven't looked back. So read the romance if you really want to read the romance, because odds are you'll discover so much more there.
Absolutely. And I think for me as a reader, that's what I appreciate the most out of the romance genre is that I know I'm going to feel happy at the end. Like I know they're going to be together and it might not feel good the whole way through, but like there's that hope of how are they going to get to their happily ever after. And I love that the genre holds on to that as a pillar so tightly, like romance means happily ever after. So for me as a reader and a writer, I love that most, I think.
Yep. Same here. I agree as well. So on the show, Bex, we also love indie bookstores. So share with our listeners some of your favorite indies.
Oh goodness, there's so many. So we live in Baltimore, my husband and I, and there's Greedy Reads in the city, which I adore. We recently transplanted from Washington, D.C., and there's Kramer Books, Loyalty Books. I just love an independent bookstore, and I love that they truly are the cornerstones of community, and they're so interwoven in the workings of community.
Absolutely. They support readers, they support authors, they support literacy, they fight for a right to read. They're doing work, and we really appreciate them. So if you have a chance, stop by your local indie and support them. Yeah. Okay, so kind of wrapping things together and kind of getting back to the Lovelight series. The first book is Lovelight Farms, so start with that one. I highly recommend. But what are you hoping, Bex, in an ideal world? I know you had the books out before, you got the feedback. They're being republished now. But in an ideal world, what are you hoping readers might think or feel after they've read book 1, book 2, and even book 3?
I just hope the most rewarding thing for me as a writer of these books has been that people who have been struggling with a hard time or been feeling lonely have felt very seen and comforted by the book. And that is my greatest hope, is that whoever reads the book, any of the books, that they just feel like they're in a safe, comfortable, good place. I want people to read them and be happy, and to feel the love of the love story.
Absolutely. You will feel the love, you'll feel found family, you'll feel the friendship, you'll feel the community. Again, absolutely love these books. I devoured them. I can't wait for book 4. This is so exciting. Next year, business casual. But for now, this summer, 2023, Lovelight Farms, In the Weeds, and Mixed Signals will be republished under Berkeley. Bex, thank you so much for coming on the show and speaking with me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been great.
Thank you so much for listening to the Reader's Couch podcast. Please subscribe to the show, share it with a friend, and take a few seconds to leave a rating and review. Until next time, stay lounging, stay reading, and whenever you're in doubt, go straight to your local bookstore or library. Thanks again for listening, and happy reading.